Not a bad crowd. OK, I'll try to cut it as short as possible so no one is late for Java Post, especially the Java Post members. And I'm a huge fan. So 50 Shades of Android Studio. First, I need to show who am I, how important I am, so you don't leave the room, blah, blah. Let me pass those. So why this talk? It's a funny story because I used to be an Eclipse committer. So when I was doing more Android stuff and somehow Google switched to IntelliJ instead of Eclipse, I needed to learn IntelliJ shortcuts and how to use the IDE and everything. And it was a kind of pain because with Eclipse, I know how to look for the logs or how to fix something, how to fix a bug report, or even fix it myself and commit the code. And I used to give a lot of Eclipse talks and stuff. So, well, I decided to learn stuff. So that's how I ended up writing an Android Studio book, too. So let me start with the basics. So most of the stuff I'm going to show will be hands-on stuff on the IDE. I grouped stuff into several categories. So I'll start basic, then move more advanced stuff, including writing plugins for IntelliJ. So let's show you the basics. The most basic thing you need to learn when you're using Android Studio is the preferences, which is kind of very friendly because you don't need to remember where stuff are. There's a nice search mechanism which just magically finds anything. You want to change fonts, you type fonts, and you end up with everything which has some kind of settings with fonts. Or you want to edit SDKs, you type SDK, and you end up with all the preferences with the SDK. Let's see. Oh, debugging stuff. So I'm pretty sure you previously run something on Android Studio, but let me run an emulator and show you the basic debugging tools. It's pretty amazing. You can basically check every variable and stop the execution at any point. You can change variable values or create conditional breakpoints. Basically, if you're coming from Eclipse background, you're not going to miss anything from Eclipse debugging tools. While we are waiting, let me see. Actually, OK, not up yet. So while we are waiting, let me see what else I can show. Oh, shortcuts. OK, first, let me show you the debugging. So what I have here? So I just imported an template project from Android Studio. I'll just put a breakpoint here and show you the basics. So once you click debug, it will start the application in debug mode. So you can do it with the emulator or with a real device. Basically, when the execution hits the breakpoint, it will stop. And now you can go line by line or jump to inside the method call. You can see the list of variables in the context here. You can examine the values or even try to change it. I'll cut it short, this part. And let me show you some shortcuts. So actually, there was a talk from Hadi Hariri, I guess. Hopefully, I'm spelling right. So this is like a very basic short version of it. If you're interested in learning more, just go watch his talk. It's just he's the original one. So I have some cheat sheet here. So the most useful, well, let me start with a story. When I switched from Eclipse, I didn't want to use Eclipse shortcut theme. So I stayed with IntelliJ shortcuts, which was because I want to do that to learn the IntelliJ shortcuts, but somehow I ended up knowing nothing. So I did everything by right-clicking or trying to find it over the menus. So luckily, in time, I downloaded the key map PDF and tried to learn more stuff. So let me show you some stuff I really used and I still use in my daily work. So Command O is good for searching stuff. So as you can see from the example I typed before here, it allows you to use joker characters, and you can even put the line number you want to go. So let's type something else. For example, I see here I have device list activity, so device. And if I put like 32, I'm on line 32. So it's pretty smart and pretty useful. Double shift search on everywhere. So if you're going to search anything, just double shift and you can search it anywhere. Something I like is to use Command 7 to see the class structure. You can switch back to project structure by Command 1. Then let's see what else. Oh, Command E. Command E shows you the recent files. So basically, you can easily navigate. You don't need to keep even the tabs open. Basically, it has all the history. And something even better is Command Shift E, which shows you the recently edited files. So you can just switch back to something you have just done. And it's actually pretty useful. That might be one of the shortcuts I use most. Let's see what else I have. Oh. Command P is pretty useful. So if you want to go to the implementation and see the details, you click on a class or object and press Command P, and the IDE takes you to the implementation class. Let me switch back to some code. So if you want to see the parameter infos, Command P will give you the parameter info of the method call. You can also use Command Alt B for the type declaration. And finally, the navigation shortcuts. OK, I have a small list of navigation shortcuts, which I really like to use. Command and square brackets will bring you to previous and next steps in your navigation history. So it's just jumping to the places I focused on the editor. So this one is pretty good with just stepping back or stepping forward to where you left. Let's see what else. Oh, something again I use heavily is if you want to move a block of code, Command, Shift, and arrows will let you move stuff around. And another useful shortcut is Command, Shift, V, which brings you the to everything you copied before. So you are not limited to one item to copy and paste it. You can just go back and check anything you copied in the past. Looks like I visited T-Mobile. Let's see. Another interesting shortcut is, let me see what it was. Shift-Alt-Click will give you multi-cursor support. Oh, I'm not clicking the right part. Shift-Alt-Click, yeah. So you can edit different locations at the same time, and it will be changing. Of course, this is not good for refactoring, so don't use this for refactoring. But it's still amazing to see different cursors editing at the same time. Let's see. Another shortcuts I really used to use in Eclipse was organizing the imports, which is Control Alt O, which will optimize and organize the unused imports. Alt Command L reformats the code. So before submitting your code, you can make sure everything is in proper grammar. I think that's enough for the shortcuts. So let me see what I have from the slides. Templates. OK. One thing I really hated was when I create a new activity or a new project or just any new component, there are a lot of stuff I need to delete. So basically, you can edit any template in Android Studio. If you right-click and inside New, select Edit File Templates, you can edit any file template. We have class, interface, and as you can see, it has its own grammar. You can easily change the default file template from here. But what I was interested in was actually editing the activity or service templates. So if you go inside, let me show it from the beginning. If you go inside your Android Studio installation, then contents, plugins, Android, and templates, you can basically edit any application, any project template and make it work like you want to. So you don't need to delete any generated code. You can just edit the template and make it work just out of the box. Let's see what else I have. Plugins. OK, before plugins, actually, let me show you a bit on Constraint Layout, which is kind of something. It's almost 1 year old, right? So not so new. So I have a new activity here. Oh, let me maximize this part. So the new Constraint Layout finally gives a better drag and drop UI editor. So you can create new layouts. And it's kind of nice. You can see the blueprint next to it. You can create constraints. And you can see how it changes as you move. It's pretty nice. And if you're, it's pretty stable, too. I haven't used it heavily, but I really like the constraint layout. And so far, it's currently worked for me. Let me just stop with constraint layout and continue with slides so we keep on time. So another nice feature with IntelliJ is the plugins. And I was, because in Eclipse, I could easily write my own plugins. I was kind of very lost in the early days because I didn't know where to hook and where to fix something or where to add my own functionality. So first of all, when you start Android Studio, and IntelliJ comes with its own plugin repository, which you may find most of the stuff you need. If you want to go more and write your own stuff, you first need to start with downloading the IntelliJ platform plugin SDK, and then add the plugin SDK as the one of the SDKs so that IntelliJ knows how to build the written plugins for the studio. So next, you start a new plugin project by selecting the IntelliJ platform plugin. And let me actually show this from a project I did. I think it was the example in the book. Yeah, here. So I haven't installed the SDK here, so it won't compile, but at least I can show you the code. So basically, the idea is very similar to Eclipse plugins. If you have done any Eclipse development in the past, there is one plugin XML which declares most of the stuff you want to integrate with the IDE. So for example, here I have several stuff. One is a wizard, which you can see here. So this is just like a project or a unit wizard, which kicks in and asks you several questions to decide how to create something. So here I have a custom wizard, and if we go to the custom wizard class, it extends the module builder. You can create your own module wizard steps. And for example, this one, I have a file chooser, and then a radio button, I guess. And when the steps are complete, you can execute the flow by the, with the collected data from the user and just create or do what you're supposed to do. Let's see what I have, what else I have here. So you can easily add menu items or pop-ups. Let's see the pop-up example, actually. For the pop-up, we have an editor action. So basically, this pop-up will, this is a pop-up menu which will appear when you right-click in the editor. So let's switch to code. So basically, this extends an action, and when the action is performed, you get a copy of the editor, project, and other stuff you may need. Then again, you execute your flow and do what you want. If I remember right, in this example, I was, OK, this is another story. Turkish alphabet has some non-standard characters, which is like dotted U and some other vowels. So basically, this plugin kicks in and converts all those letters to Unicode, which was pretty useful for multi-language support and multi-language files. So I think that was the first plugin I did for Eclipse. So when I switched to IntelliJ, although I don't much use Turkish anymore, I still did the plugin to see if I can mimic the same functionality. Let's see. And finally, I have a pop-up. So the pop-up basically, again, is an action, and it will just create a new message. And as you can see from the event, you can get the project info and other stuff you need in the context. So I guess I covered the plugins from Yep, I can switch to next topic. So Java 8 on Android. With Android N, we have the functionality of, we have the option of using Java 8 through Jack. To enable Java 8, basically you need the following configuration in your Gradle file. I can't say everything works very stable, but it's nice to see and try lambdas and other Java 8 stuff. Usually, if your project is not huge and doesn't have a lot of stuff, most of the stuff works. And if you have a lot of legacy code in the project, you may have some difficulties. In this setting, basically the last two lines is for the IDE, so it won't complain, and no, the syntax is Java 8 syntax. Next, let's see a bit about Gradle. So Gradle was another new topic if you're coming from Eclipse background. And actually, during while we were building Android applications on Eclipse, we didn't even have a proper official build system. So we had the dark ages of copying jars into libraries and stuff. Luckily, Gradle first helped with that. And also, I feel it's much faster than Maven. Actually, I had a JavaOne talk last year comparing Maven to Gradle. The stats are really nice. So this is a very basic Gradle file with no repositories and dependencies. Basically, we are applying the Java plugin. And if you have any repositories, we need to declare here. And also same with dependencies and Java settings. So this is more a complete Gradle file, although it's still very simple. Right now, we have a repository, and we added JUnit as a dependency. So declaring dependencies is a little different than Maven, but it's pretty much similar. So you can easily convert any Maven dependency to Gradle. If you have local files, you can use compile files and use them as dependencies. You can also use workspace modules as dependencies. So you will be debugging and using the same code in the IDE. Basically, a Maven configuration of the right side becomes as the one on the left when we copy everything to Gradle. And actually, we can even make it shorter by combining the dependency configuration. So basically, in the first example, we have the compile group and name, and the version as separate properties. But actually, the Gradle syntax allows us to combine and write them in one piece. OK. Finally, writing Gradle plugins. Another thing I was interested in, OK, I really like to write plugins, I guess. So another thing I wanted to know was how to write Gradle plugins. Gradle supports Java, Scala, and Groovy. Well, I mostly did experiment with Java support, of course. The plugin can be applied, the plugin you wrote can be applied with the apply keyword inside build Gradle. Each plugin needs to implement the plugin project interface, which will bring the apply project method, and then you can implement your code. A very, very simple Gradle plugin will look like this. So we have a custom plugin which implements the plugin interface, and the apply method will receive the project which the Gradle plugin is running on. So here we can have our own custom tasks and do stuff we want. Basically, we can copy stuff around or other stuff we may need. To apply this plugin, you need to add the apply plugin and plugin name inside your Gradle configuration. I guess that's it. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. And I think I might have a copy of my book if anyone is interested.